Hey guys, Blackcross here. Welcome to another video. So, with this video entry series that I started, I wanted to do more videos that are more personal to me, a little bit more about me and everything like that. And one of the things that I'm sure a lot of you probably know is that my vast collection right here, I mean, that's why this whole channel was named Blackcross Game Shelf. Years ago it was called Blackcross Gameplay. And then I decided to change it into Blackcross Game Room because obviously I was showcasing a lot of stuff that was in my collection and everything of that nature. And for those that are curious, I've been collecting for well over 20 years at this rate, I'm right now 36, fixing to go on 37, and I've been collecting for a long time now. So needless to say, I've had a long time of collecting and everything like that. But there was a particular video or two that I've been seeing where people talk about their favorite items in their collection. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is not an easy list to make. I mean, I've talked about my favorite games and everything like that nature, so I don't know how to go about that. And then of course there's also other items that I have in my collection, like for example figure sets and everything of that nature. So it's a little bit complicated to describe what are some of my favorite items and stuff of that nature. So then I decided to kind of work on a list, to kind of work a little bit on what I wanted to key talk about in this video. So this is more of my favorite unique items rather than my favorite items per se. These are items that I've either had for a very long time, maybe they're very unique in a certain way, maybe there's a certain memories attached to them or something like that. It could be anything. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a particular video talking about some of my unique favorite items in my collection. Not an easy list to do, but if for some reason this video does well and you want to see like another type of video involving my collection and stuff like that, maybe I might do a video involving my favorite collection sets per se. We'll see how that goes. But with that being said, let's get on to the video. So, what items should I talk about first? Well, might as well talk about the very first item that I wanted to talk about. And that is this guy right here. So you're probably wondering to yourself, why a bear? Why a teddy bear? Well, for starters, number one, this is the most articulated bear that I've ever had whenever I was a kid. I mean, most bears, depending on how they're made and stuff like that, are pretty standardized. But this one was very unique in my personal opinion, and plus it looks the most bear look. But not only that, so the bear itself was given to me by my aunt years ago. So she gave it to me for Christmas one year, and I decided that the outfit that it had originally, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, it had like a ballerina outfit or something like that. Didn't really care much for it, so I just took off the ballerina outfit. But then my brain started ticking a little bit. So you might notice the overalls are kinda a unique pattern. Well, some may recognize the pants as being Pinocchio's overalls. So, my little kid brain thought about it, and it's like, could those overalls fit this bear? And they did. They did fit him. In fact, it fits perfectly well, to a point to where you can look at it and be like, this looks like a certain bear from a certain book series. To which you'd be correct. As a kid, one of my favorite books that I read was, of course, Kotowari. And one of the books, the first book that was known, was a bear that was trying to find a button for him. Because a button was lost and it was loose and everything like that. After it was owned it had a button sewed onto him and everything like that. Well, naturally, this overall set is complete. But Pinocchio never had this particular pocket. Well, that's because there was a second book that was released where Kotowari wanted to have a pocket. Of course, naturally, he eventually did get a pocket. And my grandmother sewed a pocket onto these pairs of overalls. So this kind of goes through a little unique history when you think about it, It involves my favorite book as a kid, and it's my favorite bear. And again, it's a unique ideal that I had whenever I was a kid. Just took a pair of overalls from a Pinocchio plush that I had years ago, and it works well for the bear here. And it's my favorite bear. Another small little random thing that you probably didn't know. One of the very first collections that I had in my youth was a bear collection. Yes, I had a teddy bear collection. It wasn't massively huge, mind you, but it was enough to where it has some different bears. Like, I remember actually having Smokey the Bear. If anyone remembers that IP, it was basically to discourage forest fires and everything of that nature. So if you remember Smokey the Bear, I had one. But this was the only bear that stayed with me and has stayed with me to this day. And again, it was one of my favorite items, so I figured, you know what? Might as well talk about him, you know? So the next item that I want to talk about is something that I think very few people are going to have any memories of. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how to talk about this one other than the fact that it involves one of my favorite films. But in terms of this particular entry, it's actually one of my favorite McDonald's toys that came out of it and stuff like that. And it is this right here. So if you're not familiar with what this is actually the same sphere, the treasure map, that was in Treasure Planet. The one that James Hoskin had with him and everything like that. Basically, if you kind of a Rubik's Cube and stuff like that, it would open up to reveal a map. Basically, a technological map that shows you the location of where Treasure Planet was, but it was also the key to open up to the inner circle of the planet where the treasure was being laid and where the treasure was being hidden and stuff. That being said, though, this is actually a McDonald's toy, but not the whole thing, for it comes in pieces. So, you might be asking yourself, okay, this is interesting. So, most people would remember the Inspector Gadget McDonald's toy kit and everything like that, where you collect the different pieces and stuff like that, but each piece does something unique and everything like that. And personally, in my personal opinion, this is actually my favorite that came out of the McDonald's line and everything like that. Mostly because, again, it involved my favorite Disney film, which is Treasure Planet. And I just thought it was really cool, and I've had this with me since then. Now, obviously, there was one other piece that went with it, and I've lost it since then. But in all honesty, it wasn't too bad of a loss, because the pink stand that goes with it kind of stands out a little weird when you think about it. I do plan on buying a different kind of stand, one that kind of blends in with the steampunk looking type design and everything of that nature. But with that being said, it's just a unique thing that I have. And again, it's one of my favorites. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Obviously, it doesn't work anymore because of the fact that A, it was a McDonald's toy, and B, I've had it for years. So naturally, the batteries are dead. I could replace them, but nah. It's cool by itself. This next item, I'm going to have to remember, but I'm pretty sure this was the very first collector's edition that I had in terms of my collection and stuff. I'm pretty sure this was my very first collector's edition. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was also my very first pre-order that I ever had. And it is the God of War 3 Pandora's Box collector's edition. Yes, this thing right here. So, funnily enough, I still have the original box. And of course, the poster that came with the collector's edition and stuff like that whenever you ordered from GameStop. But when you open it up, it contains a couple of things. Obviously, it contains the art booklet for God of War 3. But if you were to open up inside, this is how the game would be in and everything like that. Now, of course, these were the only physical items that was in it. There was a couple of digital items. For example, there was downloadable content for like costumes and stuff, as well as a soundtrack for like either the main game, and then of course a metal cover for God of War and stuff. But with that being said, the biggest thing that I really liked it was just Pandora's Box, you know? I mean, yeah, I wanted to play the game, but whenever I saw that the collector's edition was this, Pandora's Box, I had to have it. I mean, look at this. is literally the same Pandora's box that was featured in God of War 1 as well as God of War 3. So it's really cool. I remember whenever me and a friend of mine was talking about this and everything like that, it'd be really cool if they made like this section right here, like the red translucent that was in like the game and everything like that. Obviously this is just the standard Pandora's box, but still it's really cool looking. So I'm just glad that I have this in my collection. This next item isn't really anything big, but it definitely did start a domino effect that escalated to this point. And it is the Dude from The Big Lebowski. Basically the Funko Pop of the Dude. So this is the very first Funko Pop that I have. Yes, the very first one. And specifically one that my brother gave me for, I believe, my Christmas gift, I want to say. But he gave me this as a Christmas gift. And he knew that I loved The Big Lebowski. And there wasn't really anything in terms of The Big Lebowski that had ever been made at the time. Aside from like a few apparel and stuff of that nature. But to have a figure, specifically a pop figure, of the Dude, it was really awesome. And of course, it first started off as him, but then escalated into the collection of Funko Pop that I have to this day. So, yeah, we could probably blame the Dude that started the Funko Pop collection, but if there was any Funko Pop that I was never going to get rid of, it would be this one. Because, again, it's the Dude, it looks cool, and it's one of my favorites. So, yeah, definitely keeping that. Next item that I have, this was a long wanted item. One of the most wanted items that I ever wanted to have in my collection. And it's kind of interesting because this isn't the very first pin that I collected. You know, out of all the pins that I have, I think the ones that I gotten first was the one from the HD collection of the Kingdom Hearts series and stuff of that nature. Those were the first pins that I collected. But out of all the pins that I ever seen of Kingdom Hearts, this was the one pin that I've wanted for so long. And that is this right here. This specific pin was the one pin that I wanted to have. Come on, screen. But you can kind of see the pin anyway, right? You can kind of see the pin itself. Obviously, the reason why I wanted this pin specifically was because it was basically one of my favorite art pieces that came out of the Kingdom Hearts series, where it involved Sora, Donald, and Goofy on the throne and everything. And this was such a wanted item for so long, and for the longest time, people were wanting it for an absurd price. Like, I believe at the time that I first saw it, it was like worth like, I want to say it was like, a starting price was like $400 maybe, depending, and it kind of went up from there. But there was one time that I saw it for like $250. And I thought, it's not going to get any lower than that. So if I ever get a chance, I definitely want to purchase it. So one time, whenever tax returns came in and stuff like that, I decided to use a portion of that to purchase this pin. And now I have it in my collection. It's one of my favorite pins, and once again, it does feature not only one of my favorite games of all times, but also one of my favorite art pieces that came out of that game. So, yeah, just a pin that I wanted for so long, and I'm glad I finally have it in my collection. Now, yes, we do have video games and everything of that nature, and I do collect various video games, but that's not the only thing that I do. I also watch videos, I've watched movies and stuff of that nature. And one of my favorite film series of all time is Pirates of the Caribbean. And this particular item I saw at Walmart whenever Pirates 4 was coming out. And that is the Pirates of the Caribbean DVD box set. At the time, Stranger Tides came out, and this featured all the Pirates film up to that point. It had Pirates 1, 2, as well as behind the scenes, 3 behind the scenes, and then 4, and then I think the last 2 DVD discs that it came with were actually a Blu-ray copy of Stranger Tides and a 3D version of Stranger Tides. So yeah, I didn't care much for 3D effect, so I gave it to someone who wanted it to have. They offered to buy it off of me, but I was like, I have no real need to having a 3D effect disc, nor do I really want it, so I'll just give it to you. And he was like, cool, thanks. He was really big into the 3D movies and stuff of that nature, so I let him have him. Whereas the Blu-ray, I let Mom and Wes have it to where they could watch it whenever they want to. So this contains all DVD copies up to and including the 5th one now. So, as you can see, this is Davy Jones's chest from the 2nd film. It opens up, and aside from this one, this featured digital codes for downloading the films and stuff of that nature. But this is the map that was featured in the 3rd film, as well as what was also in the 4th film as well. And then, of course, this is the medallion that was featured in the 1st film. And when you open it, hang on, I want to be careful, there we go. When you open it up, it's actually a DVD folder for all the stuff that comes with it. So like I said, I've got Pirates 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as the 5th one that I added in with it as well. So, now, according to rumors, supposedly Johnny Depp and Disney, of course, is finally working on Pirates 6. When that's going to be released, I don't know, but I'm not too impatient or anything on that. I'm just kind of like waiting to see if they actually do release a 6th film. But until then, I still have the entire Pirates series in a single box, and it's one of my personal favorites. So it's like, it's a really cool box set. The way that it's displayed and everything, it's just really cool. The next item, I actually didn't want to carry it with me or anything like that because I just had tuned it up a little bit because it was kind of loose in some areas, so I had to tighten up the screw and stuff. So it's perfectly set the way that it needs to be set. That being said, it is my Iron Man Mark III figure. Yeah, that big one. I did a video talking about it, but it bears to be talked about again. I wanted to have a big Iron Man statue-like thing, but I wasn't sure where to find one, and I didn't really find anything that I wanted. Then I went on a particular website where it offers a subscription service where they send you parts in order to build the big thing itself. Eventually, they did kind of do like R2-D2, the Megazord from the Power Rangers, certain vehicles from, like, say, Back to the Future or Ghostbusters, for example. But I just wanted the Iron Man figure himself, the Mark III. I just thought it was really cool. It was really awesome. It took like roughly 3, maybe close to 4 years, I want to say. I can't remember. But it took a long time to get all the parts to put together and stuff like that. And by the time I finally got him fully assembled, I was like, I'm perfectly fine for what it is, because they offered extra parts for different poses and stuff of that nature. But I just want him to stand as is. You know, like how Tony Stark has all the Iron Man suits set up in his Hall of Iron and everything like that. So it's like, I wanted to look something like that. And for the longest time, I've actually thought about wanting to make my own display case of Iron Man, you know, just to have it set up with blue lights and everything of that nature. I hadn't really got around to do anything like that, but where it's at right now is perfectly fine. It looks great. It looks great with all the other Iron Man memorabilia stuff that I have with it as well. It looks really nice. And in my personal opinion, it's another favorite of mine, and I absolutely love it. Although, in some time near in the future, I'm not sure when, but I would like to work on that display cabinet that I want to do in terms of Iron Man. When that will be, I don't know. I just know I really want to make my own Iron Man display case or something like that. Something unique, you know? Eventually that'll happen, but it's not going to be an immediate thing. But it's still going to be cool once I get around to putting it together. The next item that I have in my collection that I love is the Dragon Throw blanket. Now, for those that don't know, I've had this throw blanket for a long time, and mostly because I wanted it to be displayed somewhere in the games room. At the time, I really didn't know where or how, But by the time I decided that I wanted to make my official game room, I finally had the ideal of what I wanted to do and how to go about it. And by the time I got around to it, I finally was able to display it the place that I wanted it to be at. And it's literally the centerpiece of my collection. I wouldn't say it's like the centerpiece, but it definitely was something I wanted to display for the longest time. It just looks so cool, it's so awesome and fascinating to me. If it wasn't for the fact that I don't really have nearly the room where I wanted to, I would have loved to display my dragon statue that I have downstairs up here. But unfortunately, I don't have that room, nor do I have that luxury of space. So instead, they're just going to stay down here. But at least the throw blanket is displayed for me to look at whenever I want to, because it really does look cool where it's at. Next up on the list is the Jak and Daxter Limited Run Game Collector's Editions. Yes, all of them. But if I had to pick one of the four, it would be the first one. Because, boy, let me tell you, when I saw this, I really wanted it, you know? Like, I didn't know anything about Limited Run at the time. In fact, it was very new to me at the time. Now, this was before any of this problems started coming up or anything like that. But when I saw the Jak and Daxter Collector's Edition, I was like, I want this. This looks so cool. I really want it. Unfortunately, at the time, they were sold out. But I did get put onto a waiting list. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, will I be able to get this, you know? I don't think I will, because what are the chances of somebody giving up their collector's edition in order for me to get it? I doubt that was ever going to happen. However, though, I did get the email saying that someone did give up on the collector's edition, and I was up in line for being able to get it. So, I got it. And the first collector's edition of the Jak and Daxter collector's box, I wanted, and I'm glad I got it because it looks so cool. I remember a year ago, whenever I was playing through the Jak and Daxter series, I went through on the PlayStation 4 games, and I opened up these boxes to where I can look at them again and stuff like that, and they are so cool, they're so awesome. The way that they just sat on my shelf, they look so fantastic. It's almost like a book of Jak and Daxter, you know, when you think about it. It's like a book for a library, and I love how they look. They feel so amazing. It's a cool thing to have, and as a Jak and Daxter fan, I couldn't ask for anything better. And the sad thing is, we was never going to get anything close to what we were going to see in terms of Jak and Daxter. So to see this is really cool. I absolutely love it. Just wish they did something more with either Sly Cooper or Ratchet and Clank, especially considering the fact that, you know, Ratchet and Clank still continues on to this day, and Sly is, well, he's part of the trio of PlayStation 2 heroes, so it just makes sense, right? Gotta have something for them, you know? But when that will be, who's to say? Now then, this item that I have right here is probably one of the biggest items that I have in my collection. The sole purpose of this game room is because of this item. I'm sad to say that it's not the original item that started the whole thing, but it is definitely one of them. And I have to say that there's a lot of stuff in my collection, but if I had to abandon it all and keep one thing, God forbid that ever happens, but if I had to give up everything and keep one thing, it would be this. My PlayStation 2 system. I mean, seriously, you think about it. My biggest collection is the PlayStation 2. So naturally, it only makes sense to keep up with the system itself. But not just the system. This thing right here. This thing. I did a video talking about building the ultimate PlayStation 2 system. This thing is amazing. This thing has been awesome. And I have to say, it's one of those things where it's like, because of how things have been lately, I haven't been able to get more collecting in terms of the PlayStation 2. It's been kind of hard lately. So to have this was amazing. To be able to have certain games downloaded and stuff like that, to where I can just emulate them and stuff, is fantastic. Especially when you consider the fact that the majority of some of these games are hard to find. I haven't been able to find any of them for like the past couple of years. So I've just been thankful that something like this exists, and a lot more people are talking about it now. So yeah, to have the PlayStation 2 system right here in my collection, as well as being able to play any of the PlayStation 2 games that I've wanted to play. Obviously, there was some cleaning that still needed to be done with the system, but again, like I said, so long as this still works, I'll definitely keep it in my collection, because it's just one of my favorite items, and it is the item of my collection, is the PlayStation 2. So, yeah, absolute favorite of mine. Alright, well that's going to be it for this video. Let me know in the comments below, what was some of your favorite items that I talked about in this video? Or maybe you have a certain favorite item in your collection that you like talking about, you know? Let's get that discussion. And let me know in the comments below if you want to see more items in my collection. I have plenty of items that I can show off, obviously a lot of item sets that I can show off. So let me know in the comments below if you want to see more, and I'll be sure to do a video on those. So thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one, guys.